The first upgrade to the old Champion is something that's really simple, but man, it makes a big difference. This little antenna I put right here had some of the yellow paint left over from the hand dug pit, inspection pit. So I painted it and it matches up with the color pretty good. So why not keep the scheme going? And I put the bolt to where it's kind of tucked away so when I go vertical, then it's not going to be hitting anything. But then being vertical, it'll kind of get in the way. So I can unscrew it. I can do this with one hand. And I put another bolt right there. And screw it in, tighten it up. And that's for travel or if I want to go vertical. Now my next problem is it's nice having the shorter table here because this is where you stand. So you're not having to lean over so much. But what happens is if you have it vertical and you have a real big piece of wood that comes out touching each side, when a splitter comes down and hits it, what separates, so it makes it wider. So what happens is you're sitting here and this piece of wood starts wanting to lift up. So when it lifts up, it takes you away from your blade, your cutter, and then you can't split the bigger pieces of wood as easy. So I got some modifications I'm going to do. Got the two tables off. Now originally what I was going to do is take this table and weld it on here, but the brackets are going to get in the way of the antennas. Well, I can cut those off. And I've got a flat spot right through here. I can drill a hose through here and bolt it back on. But if you look there, I've got that brace. I could cut a section out of the brace, make it a little bit weaker. There's not really that much force that's on right there. But one thing I definitely don't want to do is put it out so far that I'm tripping back over this fender. So I want no farther than probably right here. That allows me to stand straight up and I'm barely touching the fender. But still a little bit far. Now I think what I'm going to do, I'll take the original one and I'm going to weld it on and add probably 5-6 inches. Because whenever it was all the way up here, like I was saying earlier, you only have about 8 inches to here. So if you have wood that's any wider than from here to there, once it starts to split, it expands out. And that expansion has to go somewhere and it starts pushing the wood up. So I want to come out to about here. If I come out to here, the center of it's going to put me at the edge right here about 11 inches. Where I was, yeah, let's see, I was at about 8 inches. So that's going to give me a little bit bigger piece of wood before it starts wanting to push it away. I think that'll help. And that allows me to sit the wood here, and I'm going to build another table on the other side. So once I split it, I push that half here. And then if it's a real big piece of wood and there's another half I need to sit, I can still sit it here and then maybe bust a piece in there. So I think that's what we'll do. About a 5-inch piece of steel, weld it on here and bolt it on here. Alright, I took a tube of sticks and kind of marked it up. Because one thing I don't want is I don't want my leg resting on this all the time. I guess shaking a little bit, and this and that, and then just rubbing right there on my leg all day long. It's not gonna be very nice. And it's kind of a tripping hazard if you lean back. So I think about right here is about right. I'm standing straight up. My legs aren't touching it. Still gonna give me my distance. I think I like that. So I go from flat edge to flat edge. I'm looking at about 5.5 inches. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Make me a piece of steel about 5.5 inches. A little closer look at what I'm doing. Basically, this is just gonna be a little extension. I measure from this flat point to that flat point. But I was actually wrong now that I'm looking at it. I should have been measuring from here to this flat point because I'm going to be welding right here. So I need to remeasure that. Things you do on the fly. Looking at about 4 inches now. Alright, 4 inches. Alright, here we go. Got it welded up. Kind of just spot welded on the other side. Now some of you might be asking why didn't I just bolt it on here? But I would have a step right here, so when I'm moving wood and turning it over and stuff, it'd be kind of aggravating with having that catching and stuff. Now this is flush back and forth. And for you guys that don't know, I'm completely off grid now, so the Hypotherm is out of the question for the time being because that's why I'm using the weld now. I'm actually on solar. Solar does everything but the welding. So I have to go to the Champion, and it's so small it won't run to Hypertherm 45XP. Even if I turn it down as low as it goes, I can get like a 1 inch cut, and then it stops, and then 1 inch cut and stops. So I'm back to the old grinder for time being. Now let's get this thing bolted up. Alright, I took a square, maybe some marks, maybe these be in the same area. Another reason why I went ahead and welded instead of bolting, not only because of edge catching, and this is flush, is this metal here is a little bit thinner than what this metal is. So by welding it, I made it a little bit stronger, made it won't warp and bend. 2 bolts there would allow it to warp a little bit. And I round these flush. So now all I gotta do is match up these holes. Get them halfway centered. Little marker. Let's drill some holes. Holes drilled. Holes are slightly larger than the bolt. That gives me a little bit of wiggle room just in case the old trusty marker wasn't as accurate as I'd like it to be. It gives me just a little bit of wiggle room. Now I did take this all the way flat, straight against, like it's right along that edge. I got to thinking maybe I should have left it off a little bit because like will be stronger since it's flat against it. I wonder maybe this won't wiggle much once it's bolted down. I'm sure it won't, but you can always get that little wiggle go back and forth with the wood buster, so maybe it won't make a lot of noise or squeak or something or rub the paint off. So now we just bolt it on up and see how we like it. All right, there we are. Now allows me to still get in here. I get everything. I'm not really touching. I use the original bolts because they're kind of domed over. That's wood to slide around. I'm going to wait. I'm actually going to build another table on the other side, and I'll paint everything all at once. I'm not powder coated in a long time. I may end up powder coating. I haven't made my mind up yet, but I guess we'll see. Everything changes as you go. All right, now we're back to this other side. This is the table that was on there. The size I would like to have is about like this, have it level, have an angle like that so the wheel would stop, not fall off. Another angle here so it doesn't fall off and hit the gas tank. I thought about cutting right here, heating that up and straighten that out. Then I could just lay this right on top and weld it. I'd have to add a little bit to make it because I want this flush. So if I have a piece of wood here, I want to be able to slide it straight over and not get caught. So I could do that. That would give me, I don't know, I'm only going to have 18 gauge steel. So, I mean, it could warp around a little bit. So I like to actually take 1-inch tubing and frame it out. So I'm thinking about, I believe what I'm going to do, I took a square, went straight down there. I'm thinking about cutting that completely off. I'll take a piece of 18 gauge steel and score it so that I can bend it and weld it. So it'll be like that, and then it'll sit straight down on there and come out. And then I'll have another piece that turns up, basically like this. Then I'll take me a brace down, which everything will be a little bit lower down here. Take a brace down to this bolt right here. And then I will frame it out of 1-inch tubing. I think that would be my best bet. And I'm wanting it over far enough that it's going to protect the motor a little bit and with the angle up here so stuff won't push off on it. I can still get into my gas tank. The height that this table will be, you have where you put your hydraulic fluid in. I think I'll still be able to, it'll be, it's going to be about this high, and here's the fill. So I have funnels that'll go right in there and I can funnel it in. And if anything, since I'm using the mount that's here, I can unbolt it and move it. You're not going to have to change the hydraulic fluid very often at all. So I think that's what I want to do. I was going to make my own mount, but it's so easy that the mount is already there and the holes are already there. I don't have nothing to line up. I can actually just take the grinder and cut those off flat, and then I can bend my metal, sit it up here and mock it up and get it where it's perfectly level here, and start tacking everything up, and then come over and put my brace up. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and cut them off. Right, I got the tabs cut off. So now the idea, of course, this is going to be slid over here, but to make it easier to see, I'll make another bend. It'll come down. I'll weld on it, each side of it that I can get to. I want to leave it where I can unbolt it just in case I want to change things up later. So it's actually going to be I can get it level. I want it flush here so I can just slide the piece of wood back over there. I could weld it down through here, but like I said, maybe later if I know this is what I'm going to keep, I'll go back and weld it if I need to. I'll bring it, just leave a small crack where I can do that. So that's basically how it's going to be, and then there'll be another turn up right here, one on the back side, and the brace going straight down. So now, this is my template, which is why I keep a lot of cardboard around here. If you see cardboard around the garage all the time, then that's why, for building fires and for making templates. So this is here, this comes out far enough I can run the brace straight up. So let's go ahead and get our measurements for the piece of wood, which will be basically adding on another 4 inches on this end. Now score it, bend it, score it, and bend it up. I got the first bend. One thing, if you're doing like I done, you score it and then you bend it, is I scored it on this side, and typically it's a lot easier to bend this way, but it leaves a little bit of a rough edge. When you bend it over, then you get it rounded. So what you'll do is you'll bend it so far it'll make it to about right here, and then you want to go through and score it again inside. It gets rid of all that metal that's bunching up because you're bringing it together, and then finish bending it. It makes it a lot easier. All right, so I'm gonna go here. It's gonna be level right at the end. I had just enough to come to the bottom of the brace, give me plenty of room to weld. So now we're gonna go, I think I'm gonna go in about 3 inches, do a little turn up, keep it from pushing all the way over. I debate on making this come up like that, push the wood in, but I think I want it level so it just sits, but I can decide whether I'm gonna move it back and forth. By this being flush, it should be easier to slide. So let's do a quick bend on the end here. I scored it, just clamped it to the table, bent it. So now that's what it's looking like. So the fun part is going to be holding this there. I'm going to have to put maybe some magnets across the top. I'll find something to hold this to get this level where I want it. Put it level across here. And do some spot welds on the brackets back here. And then that'll let me know what my height's going to be to run down to the bolt. Magnets and a jack and a piece of wood. That's flush. All the way across. Got it up. This is level. Now we're going to fire up the generator, and I'll bring it in here and I'll spot weld all of those. That way it'll hold good enough for me to get it off and weld it really good. And I guess sometime I need to come up with something that's going to come out here. Keep everything from going off the end. Alright, we're getting ready to make a bend. I'm going to cut basically a triangle out in it so I can bend it around. We're going to basically make like a frame. Now this is where it needs to go, but usually a bend gains just a little bit, so I'm going to go just a hair on the other side of it. See if I can get around here. Go just a hair. Turn the marker around the right way. That way. We're going to go just a hair that way. Now we're going to cut that triangle out, and it'll allow me to bend it together. Just got enough to break it off. I haven't got it clamped really good. Clamped a little better now. Maybe we can break that off. There we go. We just got that little small piece. And we got that. You step out of the way. Run out of room. Have to get another spot. Instead of the tubing, of course, you saw earlier, I went with the 1 inch angle. So I made it. It goes around. I've got the level back up. Got it clamped in. That way I can do some spot welding. Get everything there where it's not going to move. And then I'll take it off and finish welding it. I think it's going to be strong enough. I'm going to, of course, do a brace down to here. But this corner could drop a little bit. I might end up doing a Y over here. Why? Because it needs braced. Y brace. All right. Let's get to welding. Leveled up. It droops just a little bit. So I got it up there nice and level. My dad, he can see level from 7 miles away. First thing he'll do, he'll show up like that table's not level. So it needs to be level. Now we're going to measure. We're going to put a washer on here. Or I might just get a piece of flat stock, drill a hole in it. Then we got to go, looks like it's going to go right inside, which works out good. About 12 1/4. Got a piece of angle cut. I forgot when I was measuring earlier, I was measuring to the top of the bolt because I thought about putting a washer on here and weld it on. I think what I'm going to do is go all the way down with this. And I'll go ahead and make this marker. These markers are pretty cool. They're Nick Pros. And come right out. And then you got a little sharpener in the end of it. Those are pretty cool. I'll put a link in the description if you guys want to see some of them. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're going to try... I don't guess it really matters if it's level, because I'm just marking the circle. It's going to move around and around. It's going to get my height right. I can always adjust a little bit when I weld it. It should be about centered. These guys will just get right in there. And this is a red. I don't know if it's even going to show up. It looks red. If you can see it, right there it is. It don't look red. It looks like a regular pencil. Yeah, it's regular lead. Yeah, just a red color. That was funny. All right, so there we go. Let's drill this out. Well, I wasn't totally crazy. Even though what I have in there is the regular, they do have the red and the yellow and the black refills. Got the hole drilled, but it's really going to be too close right there to allow a nut in there. So you can see I got the line and the X. I'm going to cut that out so it makes it actually flat. That way I can get a washer and a nut on there. Alright, got the bolt on it. Got it level. Now it's got a slap of weld on it. Just tacked on there. And I'm putting, that's 200 pounds on that corner. And it doesn't move. You can feel the shape. But I think I'm still going to go. I never know how much weight I'm going to put on there. I think I'm still going to go ahead and put another brace right through here. Looking about 20.5 inches. I'm going to cut it, and then I'll put it up here and mark the angle. Both ends cut. I'm going to go there. I'm going to clamp them, and I'm just going to tack them. I'll be taking everything back off again. Finish welding this up, weld this up. There'll be time to clean it up and prime it. Got it tacked on. This here's the test. Won't hold lead, and watch it flip. Probably. Alright, I think it'll be good holding some. Probably if I step on the end up here, it's going to flip backwards, and well, that would be funny, but not for me. Alright. While you guys weren't looking, I went ahead and added an end piece so wood can't fall off the end and hit the motor. I went over it with 100 and I think it's 100 grit. The old IV pole's not going to work today for holding it, so I got my barrels, everything lined out there. Got the primer warming up in the sun. I think the metal shows 65 degrees. So we're going to put a coat of primer on it. I'm being forgetful in this video. I almost forgot the other table. So I roughed it up, got all the sharp edges off, went over it with 100 grit, cleaned it with primer, or cleaned it with Lycra thinner, and letting everything dry and heat up just a little bit more, and we'll start priming. Alright, got them both primed, and well, I don't want to brag, but I am part of the 30-foot painters, because at 30 feet, that prime job looks awesome. But I got it done. I know I talked about doing a prime, or doing a powder coat, but I got to thinking about it. Well, that's not going to fit in my oven. All I have is a cook oven, and I don't think it would quite fit, especially not being centered to get even heat all the way around. And I've got half a gallon of yellow paint left over from the inspection pit that I dug. I done like the caution yellow all the way around it, plus on the steps, put a little sand in there to give it some grit. So where else am I going to use it at? So it's going to be here. So it's going to dry. I'm going to say so one more time, and we'll come back tomorrow and paint it. Quick paint job on there. I skip around a whole bunch of stuff because I think, people seen other people paint before. And if you're like me, I just like to see the highlights of everything. So I got a decent paint job on there. I didn't go really thick on it because something like this is going to get beat up and banged up. Then if a real thick paint job, once it starts chipping up, it takes a lot more paint with it. If it's a thinner paint, a piece of wood hits it and takes a chunk out, then it doesn't have enough grip like a thick tape to take the rest of the paint off. So it's going to make it easier to repaint later. So now I'll let it dry. It's only about 60, a little over 60 degrees today, so it's going to take a little bit. Little stuff's blowing in there. I think I got a bee trying to get in there. And then I'll put it on there and we'll be done. And just like that, the tables are back on. Turned out decent. Boy, the gnats really like the yellow. It's covered in gnats. But, I mean, it's going to get beat up anyway. So, since we have a freshly painted table, what do you want to do to that? Let's go try it out and beat it up. Here we are. Ready to try it out. I have no illusions that this paint's going to stay perfect for very long. Probably the very first time it's going to start taking some off. But I've got plenty of paint. I'll slap it on there at the end of the year. That way, maybe it won't rust as much through the summer when I'm not using it. So now let's fire it up. I'm going to try to mute everything a little bit so it's not so loud on you. That worked out pretty good. The table here, it doesn't come out so far that it gets in my way. I got plenty of room. Holds the wood on there. Whenever I go vertical now, where it used to be, I think about right here, I can go on out here a little bit wider. Table done good. Probably could have turned this edge straight up or a little bit more because it could kind of roll off. One of the things I was going to do and I actually forgot, and see how all of it just piles up right here. Every time it comes back, it pushes it, puts it right down on top of the engine. Got your air cleaner right there, and you can actually fall right down on top. So I'm actually going to put something, it may end up being just tape, because it doesn't come back any farther than here. Just something to come right here, or something to go on the other side and angle it that way. Or I could just park the wood buster where it points tilted the other way and everything will fall off that side. But I hope you enjoyed it. That should make life a little bit easier. Have a nice day.